Hi guys, it's really great to be here. Welcome to this webinar. My name is Paulina Semeniuk, and I'm a part of talent acquisition team. I'm a talent acquisition partner here in Boulder, and I'm really thrilled to be doing this quick webinar with you guys about effective hiring, recruitment process, and tools. A little bit more about myself, so you know who is speaking. I joined Boulder about two years, 7 months ago. Yeah, 2.5 years ago, and I actually started my adventure with recruitment here. And this adventure keeps going, and it's still going, and it's still my core of my responsibilities in Boulder. But I'm also involved in other HR related areas, such as recruitment marketing, or just any area that the organization needs me to be. So today we'll be talking about effective hiring, recruitment process and tools. I will talk a little bit, but then there will be a little bit of time for you guys to ask questions, and I can answer them with pleasure. So if you have any during the talk, you can write them in the comment, in the chat, and then at the end I'll look at them and I will try to answer them. Okay, cool. Let's begin. Maybe I'll start with telling you a little bit more about our company, Boulder. So Boulder is an agile powered company. We have a lot of experience, nearly 2 decades, 20 years of international experience in product development and consulting. We now are about 200 employees. We've built 300 digital products for international clients. And we are truly an agile company. We work in Scrum and in Agile, not only in product teams, but also in teams not doing products for clients. And I think it's also worth mentioning that we are a holacratic company, which means that we have no managers, we have self-organizing teams. And if you are into that, you can Google holacracy and find out what that is. Okay, so that's about Boulder. And now, who is an effectively hired candidate and where to find this candidate? Maybe I'll start with like a purpose of my team, talent acquisition team, that says most suited candidates find Boulder, join the organization, and bring us value. And who is this suited candidate, this best candidate? It's someone who is really motivated to join us, join our organization, and they pass through the recruitment process successfully. Then they accept our offer, and after being hired and joining the company, they get through onboarding, and then they stay motivated and engaged while in our company. Where to find those candidates? It's a good question. So in Boulder, we start really wide, from brand awareness, so that we are known on the market as a valued employee, as a good employer. Sorry. And then if we have this brand awareness in our candidates, we can go more specific through recruitment marketing activities, such as well-written job ads, marketing campaigns about how work life is at Boulder, or maybe creating some reusable content, like videos on YouTube, interviews on YouTube, that then we can use in communication with our candidates. All of those things, of course, to attract the right type of the candidate. And then the recruitment comes in. All of the selection of the right candidates, going through the recruitment process with them, followed by offering and hiring the most suited candidates, and of course onboarding them really, really well to the organization as I mentioned before. I want to start with an overview, like a helicopter view of the talent acquisition process here at Boldare, and how it's done. So when we know that there is a vacancy to fill, we start with thoroughly researching the recruitment need. So that's the first little dot here on the left. And then after this research, we have a profile of a candidate, and we know who to look for and who to advertise to. So when we have this profile, we can base writing content for the job ad based on this profile. And then also, when we have this profile, we can start designing the best recruitment process flow and the stages to check all of the required skills, and also design the recruitment tools. So first, start the research, then, of course, write and post the job offer, job ad, then start think about designing the recruitment process flow. And when you have the recruitment process flow, you then want to and can start the recruitment. We don't have to have thoroughly designed and established recruitment tools, because we can start with MVP, right? We are an agile company, and when we start the recruitment process, we can only have, let's say, the tools to check the candidates on the first, I don't know, 2 stages of recruitment process, and then we can deliver iteratively, designing more recruitment tools for later stages. So yeah, we have the flow. We decided that we will be doing CV check, I don't know, phone screening, interview, and offer. We start the recruitment. We recruit people. In the meantime, we are choosing and designing recruitment tools. And of course, during the recruitment, we are always checking the effectiveness of those tools that we chose, and we make changes if necessary, because maybe the tool that we chose at the beginning that we thought would suit this process is not as effective, or is not checking the skills that are needed to be checked. Of course, after we have the best candidate and we make an offer and the offer gets accepted, we then move on to onboarding in the company. And this onboarding process here at Boldare is really extensive and thorough, but I will talk about that a little bit later. So this is like a very simple. These are very simple steps to start the talent acquisition process. But today, as I mentioned, we will be focusing on the recruitment process and tools. So we'll talk about researching the recruitment need, then designing the recruitment process, and choosing and designing recruitment tools in detail. Okay. But before that, I wanted to talk a little bit more about roles that are involved in the talent acquisition process in Boldare. So let's start with the recruiter. So me. This is a role who coordinates all of the process from the research throughout the recruitment process to making an offer and hiring the candidate. And in particular, during the recruitment, we are responsible for checking whether the candidate has all of the soft skills and will fit to the culture of Boldare. Basically, if there is a culture fit to the organization. We also make the final decision whether to hire this candidate or not. And of course, during the recruitment process, we kind of lead the candidate throughout all of the stages. We are in constant communication with them, and we take care of them during this process. But we would be not able to go through the recruitment process alone, because we don't work in roles that we are recruiting. So here is the role of technical recruiter. Let's call them technical recruiters, although in Boldare we call them candidate feedback providers. And they are responsible for checking if the candidate has all of the required hard skills, knowledge, experience, practice to perform the job effectively. And this technical recruiter can be a developer, for example. If we are recruiting JavaScript developer with React, then we ask our React developer colleagues to help us during recruitment. It can sometimes be a leader of the team if we recruit non-developer roles, or it could be a person that is in the same role as the one that we are recruiting. So that's the technical recruiter role in the recruitment process. We don't have a leader. I call it leader, but here in Boldare, in Holacracy, this role is called lead link. But let's call them leaders because they are really leaders. We don't have managers, as I mentioned, but we sure have leaders. And it's them who tell us that they need someone new, that they need to hire someone. So we rely on them heavily during the researching the recruitment need stage. But as I said, they can also be involved in the recruitment process as a technical recruiter or as a team member that the candidate meets during the process. And lastly, the team. It's really important for us and for the candidate to be comfortable with the team that they are about to join. So for more complicated roles, and for the roles that we know will join the particular team, we include the designated team in the recruitment process at some point, usually at the later stages. It can be a coffee meeting, it can be, quick call, it could be lunch. It's basically a space for people to get to know each other and just checking the atmosphere between the candidate and the team members. Okay, moving on to researching the recruitment need and how it's done in Boldare. This is the first step, really. We hear that, we have to hire, I don't know, a chief accountant, and what to do next. We have to research this recruitment needs so we have a good profile of the candidate. So at Boldare, this is usually done during the meeting with the leader, sometimes with the team members as well. With the leader who needs to hire this new person, of course. And it's always done like this for roles not involved in product building. So as I mentioned, chief accountant, recruiter, social media specialist. But for developers, it can be done during on Slack. We use Slack to communicate with each other at Boldare, because recruiting developers is more repetitive, and it's likely that we already have the profile of the candidate, and it only needs a little bit of adjustment, so we can do it not during the meeting, but somewhere else. But let's say that it's a more complicated role, not more complicated role, but a role that requires the meeting. So those are like 3 areas that we cover during that meeting, and we ask questions about that to the leader and to the team. And then, as I said, we prepare a detailed profile of our ideal candidate. And this profile is then a base for us to write a job ad. And then designing the best flow of the recruitment process and the tools. So we start with formalities, like basic things. So name of the vacancy, what's the role going to be named, seniority of the specialist, whether we can hire junior, regular, mid-year, senior, what's the salary range for that role, because all of the salary ranges in Boldare are transparent and are in our job ads. We also ask whether we have budget for this role, whether the budget is, okayed, or the leader will have to pitch for that budget later, because that's important. We ask for working hours, as in whether it's a full-time position, part-time position, different working hours, late hours, so that we know and we can communicate that to the candidate. Contract type, so whether there are any restrictions in the type of contract that we can offer our candidates, B2B, employment contract, and so on. What are the number of vacancies? 2, 1, 3, and what is the location? If it's important that the candidate, let's say, is based around one of our office because the role requires them to come to the office. Then we ask about the timeline. So if there is a strict timeline for us to hire this candidate, and whether we can, delay this deadline, or if there isn't a deadline and we can, peacefully recruit the best candidates. We set communication channels with people in Boldare. I'm not talking about the candidates. For communicating with candidates, we use our applicant tracking system, but we want to know where to communicate with, for example, leader, technical recruiter, team. We use Slack for this. We use Slack channels. We don't really use emails in Boldare, so for us it's always a Slack channel. We ask what team this person will join, because in holacracy you can be more in just one team. You can have roles in different teams, and sometimes we do recruit people for 2-3 different teams to support them. So we ask which teams they will join, and who is the leader or leaders of this person. We also establish who will be technical recruiter that will help us and support us during the recruitment process. And the third row is, I think, the most important from the perspective of writing the job ads, but also recruiting, and checking the skills of the candidates. So we together create a description of the vacancy, what areas this role will be working in, what are the main responsibilities, the scope of duties, what are the daily tasks, what this person will do, or what is expected from this candidate to do in this role. And then we move on to must-have requirements and nice-to-have requirements. Those two things are really helpful for us later when we check the skills of the candidates, and also for writing the job post, of course. We also are interested in what are the benefits of the role and challenges of the role. This also goes to our job posts, but we can speak about those things with the candidates during the recruitment process, so they know what they are signing up to, and whether those challenges, for example, don't scare them. Of course, this is just the basic, and sometimes we need to delve deeper in some of those things. But once we have this research done, we can put up together a profile of an ideal candidate with all of the skills that we need to check during the recruitment process, the must-haves, the nice-to-haves, and then having that profile, we can start thinking what recruitment process flow would suit best to check those skills and requirements. Designing recruitment process. So we have the profile and we know what we are looking for in a candidate. And there are really a lot of different options for recruitment process flow and stages. I put here those that we use in Boldare the most, but it's of course not limited to that in recruitment world. Usually in Boldare, we start with CV/slash portfolio check. And then it's followed by a telephone screening. Most of our recruitment processes flows start like that. Sometimes we just do portfolio check and we skip telephone screening, but it really depends on the role. A rule of thumb for developers recruitment processes, we do CV check, telephone screening, and interview. Just those 3 stages. Super quick process. But we get a lot of positive feedback from our candidates about this like quick route to the offer. The next steps for like more for roles not developers, but for roles that are working outside of the product, we may send them a recruitment task to do at home, and then we evaluate this task and invite them for the next step, or sometimes we ask them to present the recruitment task during the interview or the trial day. We have a trial day for a lot of non-developers roles, such as Scrum Master, Product Designer, Recruiter, Marketing Specialist, and so on. So that's another stage that you can use. And then meeting the team. It's basically just meeting the people that the candidate will be working with. I'm just going to take a sip of water. So those are the stages that are mostly used in Boldare for designing the recruitment process flow. I've also written down here the things that we check during each step. But of course, those things are not there are no limits to those things, and as you can see, a lot of those things are on like a lot of those stages, because it's like layers, right? So for example, we check the hard skills during the CV check, right? We just say, okay, this developer has to have 2 years experience in TypeScript and React at least, so we can check it on the CV. But then you have also a hard skills check during telephone screening and during interview, because it's more thorough and more thorough and more thorough with each step, right? So yeah, during the CV check, portfolio check, we just do a screening of the CV, and we mainly looking for the must-haves that we established during the research. Sometimes, of course, we can check skills like written communication or language skills during this step, but it's mainly for the hard skills. And if the candidate ticks most of the boxes, or their CV is interesting, or maybe they included a motivation letter that shows their motivation to join Boulder, we then pass it on to the next recruitment process, on the next recruitment process stage. During the telephone screening, we go a little bit deeper into motivation. We also check hard skills to the extent that we can, because of course we are not the specialists, right? We are recruiters. So we cannot check the hard skills thoroughly, but on the declaration level we can, right? We also check soft skills, language skills, because we want our employees to be able to communicate in English. And we check formalities such as notice period, contract type preference, and salary expectations. And for certain roles, it may be, for example, whether you are open to travel to meet our clients, because that's something that we check for developer and people that are working with products. During the interview, here we are not alone, as I said, so we are joined by a technical recruiter. And the technical recruiter is really responsible for checking hard skills and all of the things that would make this person suitable for the job, for what's actually going to be done in this role. We as recruiters, we are checking again the motivation, knowledge about our company, culture fit, and soft skills. Recruitment tasks are for checking hard and soft skills. So it's more like, a work sample, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But we can check, let's say, their presentation skills if they're going to present their task, or their written communication skills if it's going to be sent to us and we have to read it. And of course, the hard skills, because the recruitment task is designed in a way to check, the things that this person will be doing at this position. During the trial day, again, check of the hard and soft skills, and also culture fit. And then lastly, meeting the team. That's checking the vibe between the candidate and the team that they're about to join, whether they feel comfortable, whether the atmosphere is nice, or maybe it's tense, or maybe something doesn't feel right. So then we also have the perspective of the team, how they feel with this certain candidate, and we take it into the account when making decision whether to hire this candidate or not. And now on to choosing and designing the recruitment tools. You have the same stages of recruitment process here on the screen, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about the tools that are actually enabling us to check whether this candidate is suited for the job or not. CV portfolio check is really just going like visibly through the CV or the portfolio of the candidate, and just checking whether our must-have requirements, skills, experience, knowledge is somehow incorporated in that CV. So it's basically just reading or with the portfolio check. The portfolio check is mostly done for roles in design. We can look at that portfolio, but we can also ask the technical recruiter to help us evaluate the portfolio if we are not feeling that we can do it ourselves. During the telephone screening, we ask general questions. In terms of motivation, we ask them why they're looking for a new job and why they chose Boldare, whether they knew us before or not. When it comes to hard skills questions during the telephone screening, we just check the declaration of the candidate, whether they have experience or something, or they don't have experience in something. Sometimes we also ask for help from our technical recruiters, and we tell them, hey, what questions can I ask the candidate during this telephone screening in terms of hard skills, so that I know that this person is suited to do the job. We ask about soft skills, as in, for example, their values, their expectations from work. It's like soft skills / culture fit a little bit as well. We check very carefully how they communicate during the telephone screening, whether the communication is on point, or whether they go out the way and just talk about everything and around the question, because it's really, really important for us that the communication is that our employees are good at communicating. English language skills we check by asking 1 or 2 questions in English, and the formalities, that's just, at the end, asking those things about the contract, the salary expectations, and the notice period at the very end of the telephone screening. And during the interview, as I said, this is the stage where a technical recruiter joins us to check the hard skills really of the candidate. So they've got the technical recruiters, they've got a backlog of questions that they can ask the candidate to check whether they have a relevant experience, good knowledge, practice to do the job post. And we as recruiters are not responsible for evaluating candidates on this, let's say, technical, for a lack of a better word, level. But as I said, we check motivation, culture fit, and soft skills during this stage. And we have sets of questions that are behavioral questions and culture fit questions. So behavioral questions, we maybe step back. So we know really well what kind of and what type of people we want here in Boulder, and which type of people will feel okay and safe in an organization like ours. So we have like a culture fit diagnosis of our perfect employee, right? So we know what attitudes, what behaviors, what approach they should have, and then we design specific questions to check those things. So, for example, at Boulder, it's really important to be able to both give and receive feedback, positive and more constructive. So we always ask about culture of feedback in the current company that the candidate is employed at. We ask like, can you tell us about the feedback culture in your company, and could you tell us a situation where you needed to give someone more difficult feedback? What was the situation? How did you approach this? What was important for you during the communication of the feedback, and what was the result, right? So we have those questions. We also have the backlog of those questions that we can ask, and we ask behavioral questions as well. These are designed to check how candidate behaved in the past, because the assumption is that if a candidate behaved in such a way in the past, it's very likely that they will act the same in a similar situation in the future. So we may ask questions like, describe a situation where you made a mistake in the past, describe your greatest success and what was it, how did you achieve it, and what was done later. How do you deal in difficult situations? Can you tell us a situation when you were in a conflict with a team member? What was the situation? How did you approach this? And what was the result of your actions? And the answers that candidates give us, those are those attitudes, behaviors, approaches that we either want or don't want to see in our employees. So we can check whether this person would feel good and fit to Boldare. Recruitment tasks are mainly work samples from our candidates. And as I said, we can send them this recruitment task to do at home, but we also have some recruitment tasks during trial days. So, for example, let's say that we are recruiting, I don't know, social media specialist, and we send them a task to do at home to prepare, let's say, I don't know, social media strategy for, I don't know, recruiting a recruiter, right? And they have a few days to do it at home, and we get a work sample of the work sample of the work sample from that candidate, and we can check it, and we can decide whether to continue the process or not. Trial days, they are more extensive meetings, more complicated meetings with candidates. Here we also engage technical recruiter, same as with recruitment tasks, but I forgot to mention that. The technical recruiter is with us the whole time. Also, we include the team sometimes. During trial day, we can have work samples, like I mentioned before, and live assessment. So let's say that you're recruiting Scrum Master, and you want to do a trial day. So you want to get a work sample from the candidate. So you want to see how they work. But for a candidate, it's also amazing to see what challenges are ahead of them in the company that they are about to join. So when designing this kind of recruitment task or live assessment, you can base it on the situations that are challenges in your company, and you're facing them now or in the past. For life assessment, I mean mainly like little scenes between the candidate and the people involved in the recruitment. So let's say the Scrum Master, they of course are in the role of Scrum Master in the scene, and you can, for example, give them a task to talk with the product owner or talk to the client and give them an instruction that you set up a meeting with a product owner and you have to go through this meeting. This is what happened, blah 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 blah. And then one person from Boldare, from the team, or another Scrum Master performs the role of product owner in this live assessment. And then you and so the recruiter and the technical recruiter are only observators in this live assessment. We of course observe as recruiters the flow between the people, the soft skills, the atmosphere, and the technical recruiter is more focused on how they are performing in this live assessment in terms of what is needed from the candidate, from the perfect candidate for this job post. So scenes like in theater, like in plays. And work sample, similar to the recruitment task that we sent to be done at home, but it's done in a certain time within the trial day agenda. And here it can be done just by the candidate, but sometimes if we want to check how the candidate collaborates with other people, we may give them very limited instruction and just say, listen, if you need more information, you can You can contact this and this person for support, for help. Don't hesitate, to send them a message. And we check whether they reach out and whether they will collaborate on that task with them. And of course, then if it's done, the candidate presents the result, and there is a discussion, a little bit of feedback, some questions probably as well about the task, from the technical recruiter and maybe other people involved in that trial day. And last, it's meeting the team. This stage, this part of this tool can be used during the interview, during the trial day, or as a separate meeting. We always incorporate meeting the team during the trial day. It's usually a 30-minute, 45-minute slot for coffee or for lunch with a candidate, when they can meet the team they're about to join, or the people that they will be working with the most, and just check the atmosphere, the vibe. It's beneficial for both the candidate and the team that wants a new person to join them. Okay, so this is about choosing and designing recruitment tools. Of course, this is not an extensive presentation of all of the tools. These are the ones that we use most of the time at Boldare. And before we wrap up, I want to touch base with like a little bit more about the key elements of effective recruitment and what it means here at Boulder. So there are communication, feedback, and culture fit. Communication is crucial in effective recruitment, and I'm talking about communication both with a candidate and with your internal stakeholders, so people that are saying we need to hire this person, so the leader, the team, and so on. And why is it important? With candidates, it is important to keep them in the loop, so they are informed and they feel safe with us in this process, because this process, the recruitment process, somehow reflects how it will be when they join the organization. So if they feel safe, if they feel taken care of, then this experience may influence their decision to join us. So we always stay in touch with a candidate. We inform them about any changes or maybe delays or anything. If they have any questions, we always try to get answers for them and pass them on to them. But as I said, it also goes with the internal guys, such as the leader or the team. We always communicate how the recruitment is going, whether we have some good candidates, or maybe something is blocking us, or maybe the candidates are not in the profile that we've set up on, and we have to reevaluate. So this communication is also important, because they want to feel taken care of. They want to know what they stand on in terms of hiring this new person. The next thing is feedback. I mentioned feedback as one of the values in Boulder a little bit earlier. And it goes not only within the company, but also outside the company. So we at Boulder, we always give feedback after any stage and every stage of the recruitment process, because the candidate wants to know what they stand on. They want to know whether they have a chance or not, and like leaving them on red is really not good candidate experience in the recruitment process. And of course, after the CV check, the feedback doesn't have to be super extensive, as after trial day, right? So we can do a prototype during the CV check, an MVP during the phone screening, and product market fit during the interview or the trial day. But candidates really 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 value the feedback and the decision whether we continue the process or not. And I know it from my experience when I was recruiting, those 2.5 years ago. A lot, and a lot of companies just didn't give me any kind of indication whether we continue the process or not, or if they gave me an answer that we're not continuing with the recruitment process, they didn't give me any feedback, so I didn't know what to improve and how I can be a better candidate, a better candidate. So it's really a few minutes of our time to say, listen, these are your strong things that we saw in you, and these are the areas that you can develop yourself more. And for the candidate, it's really 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 crucial, and they really value that in our recruitment process. And the last thing is culture fit. We believe in Boulder that culture fit to the organization is crucial when hiring the candidates. Because if a candidate shares the same values as the company, understands the goal of the company and sees it as a shared goal, and is in for the company and aligns with what is in the company. So for example, with giving and receiving feedback, even though sometimes this feedback may not be positive, sometimes it can be constructive, then it's more likely that this candidate will feel good and safe in the company that they are working, or they will be working, right, if they join. So the employee stays more motivated, more engaged, because they feel safe and they are aligned with all of those things. And we believe that it's easier to learn some hard skills than to change your values or to culturally fit into the organization that you don't feel the values of. So that's why this culture fit is super important, because then those culturally fitted people want to stay with us for longer. And what's next? That's the last slide, by the way, guys. So if you have any questions, write them in the chat. But what's next? We have an offer, and this offer gets accepted. So that's perfect. We hired the most suited candidate, but the recruitment really doesn't stop here. The power of onboarding is super strong, and we can't underestimate it. Because first thing is that during the recruitment, you're not able to do like a proper thorough check of all of the skills of the candidate and of the culture fit. So that's why you have this trial period, the onboarding time after the recruitment, so that you can see the candidate in real world, in real environment, at real work, and see whether they are actually fitted to do the job and to the company. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is that, like, all of the companies differ between each other. Like, they are different, they have different values, different processes, and so on. And for a candidate and new employee now, for an employee to feel safe in the company, they need to understand it, they need to feel that they are on the same page with the new employee. So onboarding is crucial here, onboarding to the organization, but also to the role, to the team, to the product, to the client. But here I'm talking about the onboarding to the organization, so that the employee can say, okay, I learned the ropes, I know how to navigate through the company, I know what is expected of me, I know what I can do, so that they feel safe and they can even say to themselves, okay, this is the company I want to stay. If we fully and thoroughly onboard people, they have this feeling of safety, then they are more likely to stay with us for longer and be motivated and engaged in their job. Okay, guys, so that would be it. Thank you so much for listening to me. If you have any questions, you can write them in the chat. We still have a few minutes, and I would be glad to answer them. And if not, if you remember something, you can reach me on LinkedIn, but also you can reach me on Agile Product Builders Community, powered by Boldare, because this event was actually hosted by this community. You can join the Slack of the community by scanning the QR code that you see here. And you can also book a non-obligatory consultation with me there on the Slack. I would be more than happy to talk to you, meet you guys, and exchange thoughts. It was great speaking to you, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.